As you saw this morning, we took another significant step towards property tax relief targeted to commercial property taxpayers in the state of Iowa, a step that would avoid any potential tax shift to residential properties, a step that would benefit 9 out of 10 commercial properties in the state of Iowa would get more benefit under the Senate plan than under the governor's plan. So we took that step on a procedural vote this morning to move that bill. The House, we believe, will shortly, or maybe already has, will insist on their amendment, and that act will send the bill to conference committee. And that, I've got to say, that is, I think, a very hopeful step. It's further than we've ever gotten before in my memory, where commercial property tax relief effort has gotten all the way to conference committee. So that's a good sign. It's also a sign that people of good faith are working together, both in terms of process and talking about the issues that divide us. So I continue to be hopeful we'll find common ground and be able to get something accomplished.
And on that vein, we're also hoping we can reach some kind of compromise on a variety of health issues, but the one I wanted to highlight this morning was our efforts to reform the mental health system and make sure there's adequate funding. And I do that because, of course, in the Senate today, we had a very special guest, Royce White, who is, of course, an athlete and well-known and has given a very public account of his own mental illness. And once again, showed to all of us that mental illness has no faces. It's got many faces. It's the mechanic, it's the doctor, it's the athlete, it's whoever, and that at any one point in any of our lives, we will be faced with some kind of a mental health issue. So we're hoping that we can find resolution with the House on that issue as well.
I'm going to talk a little bit about and you may think it comes across as a little partisan. It is not meant to be that at all. But some things I observed this week, to recap some things that you probably observed this week, and how that directly relates to shutdown. On Monday of this week, of course, it was Earth Day. Two committee chairs, two House Republican committee chairs, did points of personal privilege back to back at the end of the day. The first was Representative Watts, who called upon Iowans to celebrate rising CO2 levels, and concluded his speech, of course, by saying, let's celebrate more CO2. Then Representative Watts, who's also a House Republican committee chair, did his point of personal privilege, calling upon all Iowans to go home and turn their lights on all night long to use as much energy up as possible. On Tuesday, Representative Jason Schultz, who, again, like the prior two committee chairs I mentioned, is not a backbench Republican, a committee chair. Jason Schultz is the chair of local government, filed an amendment to the justice system's budget calling upon the Public Defense Department to give 40 million rounds of ammunition to what he called the unregulated militia. Of course, he was referring to the original Iowa Constitution, where the unregulated militia is defined as a male between the age of 18 to 45. Also, I believe it on Tuesday it was filed. It could have been Wednesday, but I think it was Tuesday. Several Republicans, those I just mentioned and others, have filed an amendment to the judicial budget bill, saying that any Supreme Court justice that voted for the Varnum decision should immediately resign or have their pay cut to $25,000 a year. Well, why do I say those three things? There is some Tea Party angst. I have referenced it several times this year, and it is starting to boil over. These individuals I just mentioned, and a few others in their caucus, we are told have now made a vow, they have made a pledge to withhold their votes on anything to do with Medicaid through the end of June. Why would the end of June be important? It's the end of the fiscal year where government, of course, would shut down. There are 53 seats. We feel our heart goes out to Representative Brandenburg, who's had some heart issues, so they've been at 52 seats max. Yesterday, of course, they had some other issues, and they were at 50. We helped them govern yesterday. We worked in a bipartisan way, but they didn't even have majority members here to govern, but we helped them govern. But a very slim majority right now. They have these individuals I've just mentioned, this Tea Party angst that's boiling over, and now have made a vow to withhold their votes, to finally finally not just have some issues in subcommittee or give a point of personal privilege, but actually assert their authority in their caucus to prevent shutdown. You may say, well, this sounds partisan, Kevin. Just continue to watch. The last week of session is supposed to be next week. I assure you we will blow far past that. It's going to be over these Tea Party issues, these members, as it relates to Medicaid expansion, as it relates to the HHS budget, and as it relates to mental health redesign, which also touches upon Medicaid funding. Those three issues are the three gigantic boulders in the road. So that's my comments.